Opponent of the constitutional amendment ballot initiative. And if we get 323,000 signatures by the 9th of July, we can put this on the ballot and up to the vote of the people. Yeah. So at the beginning of this, I'd like the people who are involved and all of us, friends and people working on this and interested, to please come forward. Let's make a large circle here in front. And let's put some energy into this. This is something a lot of people say that it can't be done, that no all-volunteer effort has succeeded in a way like this. But I think, and we're going to need a large circle. It's going to have to go all the way around the chairs so that we can include everyone here, because there are a lot more people here that are working on this than it might look like. And as people come forward, they're going to explain some of the hard work that's being done throughout Michigan to help get this on the ballot. We began back in January when it was cold, and there were few of us. There were just enough people that could fit in a medium-sized room. And it grew, and it grew. And we drafted petition language. We had it approved by the Board of Canvassers of the state of Michigan. We had it shopped around to the various marijuana-friendly organizations in Michigan, and it has been endorsed by Michigan Normal, yeah, and it has been endorsed by Michigan Hemp, yeah, and it has been endorsed by the Michigan Medical Marijuana Association, right? And it's been endorsed by the National Lawyers Guild, who understands that 40 years of the drug war is 40 years too many. And so one of the things I wanted to do as we begin and gather in a circle is to take a moment of silence to remember the victims of this very serious drug war that has hurt society in so many ways. It has torn families apart. It's given people who are otherwise completely law-abiding citizens felony records and misdemeanor records, and impacted their rights in oh so many ways, to housing and to college loans. And so it starts and perpetuates the cycle of poverty and neglect and abuse that is so wrong. And it's not the marijuana that's causing this. Cannabis is an herb. It's a healing herb. It's not cannabis that creates this damage. It is prohibition which creates this damage. And so that causes us to come forth in this rally to repeal prohibition. So at this time, though, let's take a moment of silence to remember those victims of this outrageous drug war. And so, with that spirit in mind, we know that we can and will make a difference. And it is up to those of us here today and those of us who couldn't be here but are with us in spirit to take this upon ourselves. And what we are doing is we are petitioning the government for a redress of our grievances. And we have grievances. We have grievances about the marijuana laws, that they were passed and perpetuated through fraud, that the American Medical Association did not understand, was not, actually they wanted to hold it up, but their lobbyist was already too far down the line, where they didn't realize that it was hemp that was being outlawed. When they called it marijuana, they thought it was some kind of an evil drug, when actually, if you know the history, the Parke-Davis Pharmaceutical Company, which was headquartered in Detroit, 3 blocks from my offices, back in the early 1900s, made cannabis pharmaceutical medications. And they worked. And they worked. They worked so well that the pharmaceutical companies didn't want them around anymore. And the other parts of the cannabis product worked so well that the chemical companies didn't want them around, and the textile companies didn't want them around, and the paper companies didn't want them around. And so that brings us to here where we are today. We've been through 3.5 years of the Michigan Medical Marijuana Act, and every decision of any appellate court so far that has come down has not been helpful to Michigan medical marijuana patients. Right. And so that drove us to do something more. It's my feeling that patients are not going to be protected until marijuana is legal. You know, yeah, the Department of Community Health is not helping. There's been a lot of work done to try to help medical marijuana patients, and they're still being prosecuted. The law is still being enforced on technicalities when it wasn't intended that way. As Judge Fitzgerald said, it's being used as a sword when it was intended as a shield for patients. And that needs to change, and it hasn't been changing. And it took the will of the people through the petition drive in 2008, the Michigan Medical Marijuana Act, well, the 2007 petition drive in the Michigan Medical Marijuana Act, to get this changed. The legislature is not doing it. If there are any legislators here, how many people here are running for office today? Now look at that. That's what I'm talking about. We need to organize, and we are. And I hope each one of you will come forward and tell us about yourself and your campaign and what motivated you to do this, and how perhaps that could help Repeal Today and the Committee for a Safer Michigan, and so that we can get this on the ballot. There are still people who are skeptical, and we know if and when this happens, we're not going to know to the last minute. I am not giving up. We have 25,000 signatures. We need 323,000 signatures. That is a huge hurdle and a large battle. But you know, if every one of us turned out for fireworks night in Detroit, we could probably get 100,000 signatures that night, if every one of us did. And especially if we bring a couple of friends and we hit a few more events like that, or a lot more events like that, everywhere in every county, but especially where the population is, in Wayne, Oakland, and Macomb, and Kent counties, and down in Monroe, and in Washtenaw, and Saginaw, and Kalamazoo. All right. And thank you. There are people in the UP working really hard, and that's really great. But you know what? If we get all the signatures of every registered voter in the UP, that's still not enough to get it on the ballot. But if we get the signatures of every registered voter in Oakland County, that is enough to get it on the ballot. So there we go. I want to turn it over to some of the candidates and give them some time. But we have a special guest here today, just by coincidence. Ed Rosenthal was in town doing a grow session on Saturday in Warren, and I happened to stop by there late as they were breaking up, and had the thought, well, Ed, would you speak at the Capitol on Tuesday, and what's it about, he wanted to know. And I said, well, we're trying to repeal the marijuana laws in Michigan, and we have this petition drive for a constitutional amendment, and I'll let him tell you his opinion about our constitutional amendment to repeal prohibition for adults 21 and over in Michigan for industrial and commercial and medical and religious and personal and industrial use. All of those things. And it's my great honor and privilege to introduce to you the guru of growing, Mr. Ed Rosenthal.
Hi folks. So I wanted to talk about reasoning first why marijuana is illegal today, and I'm not talking about the past, and I'm not going to go into the history, but why it's illegal today and what we have to do about it and what the reasons are. Well, the reason marijuana is illegal now is because there are special interest groups that profit from it. And they all deal with the criminal justice system. And for a long time, the pharmaceutical companies were not interested in it. Now, once again, they're interested in cannabis since we've proven that it is medical. But our main opposition, and the opposition that's putting up the fight, is the entire criminal justice system, all segments of it. It starts with the beat cop, the narc, the DAs, prosecutors, jailers, postpartum stuff, you know, like probation, parole, all that crap. And what this is really about for them is there are two reasons why the police are opposed to it. And the first is that it's a jobs issue for them. It's just a jobs issue. Keeping people in jail, putting them in jail, arresting them. It costs state, city, state, and federal. Please stop spraying that. Hey, excuse me. Hey, stop spraying that around. Terrible perfume. Yeah. Okay. So so the cities, both city, state, and federal government spend probably about $40 billion a year on it, and that's about 5% of the criminal justice budget. But they might very well spend more because marijuana is an upward funnel. A certain percentage of people get arrested, but more of them go to jail. And you know, a lot of us don't see it because if you notice, most of us here are white, but nationally, a lot more blacks and other non-white people are affected a lot more by it because they have more arrests for it. Like in New York City, they specialize in arresting black men for marijuana. In San Francisco, a black user is male user is 16 times more likely to be arrested than a white. So it's also a race issue. But the main thing here is that for the cops, it's a jobs issue. And then there's a second thing. Because of these laws, only a certain subgroup of people have chosen to become cops. Because people like you don't want to be cops because you'd be enforcing these crazy laws. And this subgroup of people is very authoritarian, they're racist, and you know what? I think that every cop should have to pass a psychological examination. But if they did, we'd have hardly any people on the police force, because if they weren't crazy when they got in there, they have PTSD now, and people with PTSD should not be carrying guns. And you can see the violence that they have just in the rates of spousal violence in police relationships. That is, their relationships with their spouses, girlfriends, and things like that, and they have a much higher rate than the general population. These people are crazed. Okay, but we'll get past that. Then the other reason why marijuana is illegal is the police state issue. And that is that ever since we've been living, any of us has been living, the state has been creating more and more laws, making things that used to be handled informally to have it handled as felonies. Kids get felonies that they can never get rid of for the rest of their lives that trail them. And it's the idea of felonizing the entire country and making this a police state. And you know, the marijuana laws are very convenient for that because there are so many people who are violating the law. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you're it. Take him with you. 800,000 people a year. And you know that the Democratic presidents have been much worse than the Republicans. The Republicans talk a big talk, but it was the Democrats, for instance, Clinton, when it went up from 400,000 arrests a year to 750,000 arrests a year. And now this pogrom that we're having against dispensaries all over the country, here, Colorado, California, anywhere where there are dispensaries by the federal government, that's a Democratic president also. So the second reason is this idea of the police state. And the idea is that if we take back California, and I mean, not California, if we take back these laws, just get rid of these laws, then the police don't have that lever to deal with people, to felonize people, to arrest people, to get more money for their police cars and everything. And you know that it's much more profitable for police to arrest a marijuana user or marijuana dealer because they might have some money as opposed to, let's say, a heroin dealer. Well, what do you have? Well, I have another pair of pants with holes like these. Well, you know, well, on the present day market, those holy pants might be worth something, but not much. But then but the idea is that they are fighting. It's not just about marijuana. It's not just about the substance. It's not just the behavior. They're fighting to keep the police state. And when we change these marijuana laws and take the police out of the marijuana laws, take them out of the equation, that is the first step in retaking America for freedom. And you know what? I don't know if there are any Tea Party people here, but this is the very same issue that the Tea Party has to a great extent about people's freedom to indulge in behavior that they want to indulge in. So it's common among all people. This is the idea. I know that Steve D'Angelo talks about wellness, and wellness is a great issue. I don't put wellness down. I think wellness is great. Everybody wants wellness. Everybody looks towards wellness, but that isn't the issue. Freedom is the issue. That's what it's about. It's about freedom. It's about our right to behave however we like as long as we're not bothering society. That's what it's about. You know, this is what we were talking about 40 years ago, and it's not been a popular thing, but it's really about freedom. It's about victimless crimes. It's about police overreaching, and it is not about marijuana. The issue isn't marijuana. As long as we keep talking about marijuana as the issue, no, the issue is the law. We have no problem with it. Who thinks marijuana is an issue? Nobody here. The law is the issue. What is this law doing to society? Is this law worth it? Is any law against marijuana worth it? Thank you. That's what this is about. And that's what we have to start telling people. It's not just, oh, marijuana isn't harmful, blah, 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 blah. Marijuana is good for you. We all know that marijuana is one of the few herbs or drugs that we can take that enhances our life. That and Viagra, right? Okay, so, but you know, Viagra was very important for this reason. It was the first pharmaceutical that, even though they were saying, oh, it's some deficiency or something, it was talking about enhancing life. It was talking about taking you not to zero the way Western medicine does, you know, okay, you're okay now, but taking you above okay. And that's what marijuana does. it's a life enhancement. And we know that. And we know how much wellness marijuana promotes, don't we? Even so, that isn't the issue. Even though it helps medical people, and you and I know how much it helps medical people, that isn't the issue in this case. That isn't the issue. The issue is the laws. The laws that affect people far, far more than marijuana, than the use of marijuana. The laws that make them into felon. The laws that actually create death, jailing, misery, family breakups. They're not created by marijuana. Marijuana doesn't do any of that. It's the laws. And that's what we have to get rid of. And now I have to tell you something. I don't know anything about this constitutional amendment. I haven't read it. But I know Matt Abel. And if Matt Abel tells me that this is the one to go after, I believe him. Because he's bright, sometimes he's brilliant, he's dedicated, he knows what he's talking about it, he's been doing it for a long time, he's respected in the community, he's an activist. So when Matt Abel said to me, I need some help with this, I know just because Matt Abel put this together and is helping to get it on the ballot that this is a good initiative. And that's why every one of you should work for this. And I have a little plan here. You know, this isn't a big rally. I mean, we'd like it to be. You see all the phantom thousands of people that are between us to make this really crowded? Can you feel it? I can't. But we all have friends. And if you and a couple of friends all promise, not only promise, but do, each brings in 1,000 signatures over 60 days, right? So when you think about that, that's only about 15 signatures a day. It's only about 15 signatures a day. Let's say you brought in 20 signatures a day. You devoted 20 signatures a day of gathering time, and your friends did, and some of their friends did, and just 1,000 people here in Michigan did that. And there are some good people that aren't going to be able to do that, and there are some people that are going to bring in more. We're on the ballot. That's what it's about. That's what this is about. And that's what this rally is about. And that's why we don't have the free food table here. And that's why we're not trying to get every Joe who wants to come to a rally with some great music. And we have Tommy Chung here who's going to entertain you. And you know, we'd all be filled up. And those people would all go home and they do nothing. And you and I know that. You know, I call them rally bums. That's what I call them. They're there for the free music. Hey, but do you have $1 for the movement? Hey man, I just spent my last money on, bus fare. Oh, but I have this eighth that's only $10. Oh, maybe I have some money in my back pocket. You know, those are the rally bums. You're not rally bums. You're the dedicated. You're the people who take this seriously. That's why we can speak one-to-one on this. This is about us. This isn't, I'm not going to tell you how great marijuana is. You know it, I hate it when I go to rallies of the choir and that people start telling me how great it is. It doesn't mean anything because we know that. It's a waste of our time. What we have to do is devise strategies to get it on the ballot. That's the important thing. Right? Right? Now look, I could do this thing, well, how many people are going to work on this? It doesn't matter. You know, everybody can raise their hand or not raise their hand. That doesn't matter. What matters is what you do going forward. Your being here today is just a down payment on the work that I expect you to do in the next 55 days. That's what this is about. That's what this rally is about. And the reason why we're holding it here at the Capitol, people here, they might look down, they might say, look, it's not a big rally. No, but it's a rally of the dedicated. And that's what they don't know. Let them take a good look. Because from this small group, we can spread out as a core. Here it is. We are the core, right here. There are people who drove all the way from the Upper Peninsula. There are people from the Detroit area. There are people from Ann Arbor. This is it. We're going to do it. We can do it, but it takes a special dedication. And I know that you didn't come for the music. So I know that you're dedicated. And you just have to redouble your dedication for this 55 days. And we can win. It's a hard drive. And look, it would be much easier if there was some multimillionaire here who says, well, here's $10,000, here's $50,000. It would be nice. Maybe it will happen. But we're not expecting it. We're trying to get it, but we're not expecting it. So we have to do it ourselves. And that's why I want to applaud you. I mean, you've been applauding me, but I want to applaud you for coming out here, for dedicating yourself to this, to doing this, to being real, and to seeing marijuana legal. Thank you so much for allowing me to be here to talk with you.